Hello again and welcome back to Harry's Jeti Clinic. This video is about connecting two receivers in your model where the primary receiver is the older R type of receiver. I've done another video explaining how to connect up two receivers in your model using X bus, which is the most modern digital data method that Jeti uses. Now in that video I demonstrated using an R-style receiver. Here it is, the older R style. This is before the Rex style that they tend to manufacture now, although you can still get the R receivers in the higher numbers, like the 9s, 12s, 14s, 18s. And I said in that video that you cannot use the R as a primary because it simply does not have an input facility. However, I have been using an R receiver in a model as a primary with an RSAT2 as a secondary for many years, since long before the Rex receiver or EX bus was brought out. How so? Well, once you get into the higher numbers, I think from the R9 and above, they actually do have an additional socket, a satellite socket. And so what I'm going to do today is show you how to get those set up if you have that sort of receiver. My assistant for today is my beloved F86 Sabre, built from the trim kit. This is 2020. That Sabre first flew in 2004, so it's 16 years old now. Old enough to be out on its own, eh? I'll take it out for a drink one day. Oh no, that's not for a couple of years yet, is it? And so I converted this over to Jeti straight away when I started using Jeti some years ago now, about six years ago I think, maybe 5 years ago, when the Rex receivers didn't exist. So it was an R12 and an RSAT2, and the R12 has a dedicated satellite socket, and servo socket 12 can also be dedicated to satellite 2 as well, so you could plug in two satellites to the receiver. So we're going to take a look at just what you do in the settings there. One thing I forgot to mention in the other video about the EX bus, if you want to confirm that you have actually bound two completely different receivers to the system very easily, just go into the menu, System, down to Info, and here we are, and we can see that the primary transmitter primary module is talking to that serial number receiver, and the secondary is talking to that receiver. I'm not quite sure if those are the serial numbers, but you know when you bind a receiver and a number comes up on screen and it says really use this receiver, it's that number. Yeah, so there we are. There's two different receivers bound into the two different modules because we're running this on the double path system. Okay, let's just have a look. We can see on the front screen both of them are running well because I'm right next to it. Okay, let's have a look then at what the settings would be. We go into Device Explorer, into our R12 first of all. So see, this is an R receiver working as a primary, and alternative pin config, no. The R12 has a very specific place for this. Go into General Settings, and down here we go. Satellite 1 socket and Satellite 2 socket. Satellite 2 is set to its default, which is actually Servo 12. But Satellite 1 has an option here. It can be PPM input or it can be off. So of course you set it to PPM input. That's where the incoming signal from the RSAT2 will arrive. And that's it. Quite simple to do that. Look at the RSAT and its settings, and here we are. So we want the RSAT2 to send out a PPM positive signal. Now the RSAT2 has two sockets. It has the EXT socket. If I turn it around that way, you probably read it better. There we go. The EXT socket and the battery or PPM socket. What this is telling us is PPM positive. It will send out the PPM or UDI on which pin? It will send it out on the PPM pin. So it won't send it out here. It'll send it out on the PPM pin. If we were to change that, I'm leaving ink marks on my screen. No. Change that to X bus. Apply changes. It would send it out, as it says here, the PPM and UDI would go out on the PPM pin, but the X bus would go out on the EXT pin. That's what it's telling us. So we are after PPM positive, yes, PPM and UDI, the pin is PPM. So I get a cable, usual male at both ends, plug one end into the PPM and the other end into that SAT1 port on the R12. And there we go. And of course you want to test it, and you test it the usual way, which is with this pin here, sort of radiating lollipop, as it were. We do that. Oh, something else I should have mentioned. Would it be in the RSAT? Yes. I'm using a 12-channel receiver, so there's no point in the PPM sending out 8 channels, which would be its default setting. We need to turn that up to 12 channels. And I shall prove that that's actually working when we test the primary module shutdown. Okay. And it'll pop to advanced properties, wireless modes trainer. Here we go. Right. First of all, we'll disable the secondary module. That's the satellite. Say OK to that. Disable, yes. So TX2, transmitter module 2, has been disabled, which means the RSAT should not be picking anything up. Let's have a look. And true enough, the RSAT is not picking up anything anymore. But I still have control. The rudder's working. Most importantly, the channels above channel 8, i.e. 9, 10, 11, 12, are still working, because if I move the brake lever, I can hear the servo move. And it's on channel 9. We can't really check easily the way I'm set up here at the moment. 10 and 11, because they are allocated to the wheel, the retracts and the doors, and that won't work unless I've got pressure inside it, so we can't hear them clicking or doing anything. And I've just got the fuselage here, so I can't pressurize the system. Go back into menu, advanced properties, wireless modes trainer. Let's start TX2 up again. Right, here's the real killer. We're going to disable the primary module, so the transmitter will stop transmitting to the R12. It's only the RSAT that's picking up. Will the system still work? Disable primary, yes. And we can prove, there it goes, it's just switched off. It's not picking up anything. What about... Yep, I've still got rudder, and... Yep, channel 9's still working as well. So, there you go. It is indeed possible, in certain circumstances...
Flame out. Flame out.
Thank you. To use an R receiver as the primary.